Training camp just got started, and the Ravens are already running into problems in exactly the spot they couldn't afford to. The goal was to kick things off strong. Healthy roster, high energy, getting locked in for a promising season. But instead of momentum, they're dealing with early headaches. And the worst part? The injuries are stacking up in a position group that's already haunted Baltimore for years. Key names, high potential players, guys fighting for a spot, all suddenly sidelined before we even hit August. The coaching staff is trying to stay calm on the outside, but let's be honest, there's a lot more behind these injuries than they're letting on. You know that moment fans wait all offseason for? Pads finally go on, the energy is high. Football is officially back? Yeah, that moment didn't last long in Baltimore. In their very first padded practice, the Ravens had to hold out one of their biggest offensive pieces, Jaire Alexander, due to swelling in his knee. Coach John Harbaugh tried to downplay it, calling it minor. But come on, we're talking about the same knee he injured last year. Jaire was supposed to be the veteran voice in that secondary, the guy who brings leadership and stability. But when someone with his injury history is already getting his knee drained in week 1 of camp, that's a red flag. Sure, he might be back soon, but the real question is, can that knee hold up when it really matters? If it doesn't, Baltimore's defensive game plan could fall apart quickly. No one's questioning Jaire's talent. The concern is whether his body can keep up. On paper, the Ravens have one of the deepest secondaries in the league. But that only works if your top guys are actually on the field. And the fact he's sitting out this early? Yeah, it's another reminder that cornerback is still a fragile spot in this roster. And unfortunately, Alexander wasn't the only one. Before fans could even process that news, another defensive back, this time a rookie, had his camp momentum cut short. Just when fans were starting to get excited about rookie corner Bilhal Kone, boom, reality hits. He'd been turning heads in camp, showing intensity, confidence, and a real shot at earning a spot. But now, he's landed on the injury list with shoulder issue. Once again, Harbaugh says it's nothing serious. But Ravens fans know how these minor camp injuries can quickly turn into lingering problems. For a vet, missing a few practices isn't the end of the world. But for a rookie like Kone, every snap counts. He's fighting for a role in one of the most competitive position groups on the team, and being sidelined now could knock him way down the depth chart. It's not just about being healthy. It's about rhythm, reps, and proving to coaches you belong. Kone's got the talent. He's flashed early. But in the NFL, potential is enough. If he can't stay on the field and keep building momentum, he could miss his window. And that's tough to watch, because Ravens fans love when a young guy breaks through. But if Kone's injury is frustrating because it slows down a fresh start, what comes next is even more painful. Because we've seen the same story before, and it's getting harder and harder to believe it'll end any differently. You'd be hard-pressed to find a Ravens fan who wasn't rooting for Jalyn Armour-Davis this offseason. He showed up ready, locked in, saying all the right things, and coaches were hyping him up as a breakout candidate for 2025. But before he could even get into a groove, boom, another injury. He's out again, now awaiting results from an MRI. And look, the injury itself might not sound major, but the real problem is the pattern. With Armour-Davis, this just keeps happening. He shows potential, looks great in camp, flashes talent, then disappears with another setback. It's becoming harder and harder for coaches to trust he'll be there when it matters. And that sucks because when he's healthy, he's got the tools to contribute. This was supposed to be the year he finally broke out of the promising but unavailable category. But how can you win a roster spot if you're not even on the field? And the worst part, he knows the system. He's been here. He's had chances, but in the NFL, availability matters just as much as skill. And once again, he's unavailable. At this point, none of the 3 injuries seem major, but that's not what's most concerning. What's really alarming is how fast they're piling up and how they're all hitting a position group that was supposed to be one of the deepest on the team.
All right, we're already past the halfway point of this video, but before we continue, I noticed you haven't left a like yet. It's really important because it helps YouTube keep showing you my content so I can keep bringing you the best news about the Baltimore Ravens. So go ahead and hit that like button. It's free and it really helps. Thanks. Now let's get back to it.
Coming into camp, Everyone looked at the Ravens secondary and thought, this group is stacked. Jaire Alexander, Marlon Humphrey, Kyle Hamilton, Marcus Williams, young talent ready to step in. Everything looked set. But now, we're not even 2 weeks in, and 3 DBs are already banged up. That kind of attrition this early, that's not ideal. And it's not just a number of injuries, it's the timing. We're still in July. Pads just went on. If guys are already breaking down now, how's this group going to hold up once the regular season starts? We've seen what happens when depth runs out. Wideouts start picking on backups, and big plays start flying. Sure, the Ravens have guys like Arthur Mallett, Brandon Stevens, Trey Swilling, solid depth pieces. But can they really be relied on week after week? For a full season? Hopefully all 3 injured players bounce back quickly, and this becomes a footnote. But in Baltimore, injuries in the secondary hit different. They carry a long, painful history, and fans feel that weight every time someone limps off the field. Even so, the official message remains optimistic, at least for now. And that calm tone from Harbaugh shows how the coaching staff is still trying to hold the line, even as early signs suggest trouble ahead. John Harbaugh has been around. He's seen it all in this league, and he knows how to manage early camp setbacks. So it wasn't a surprise to hear him say all 3 injuries are minor, that everyone should be back soon, and there's no reason to panic. And sure, in late July, there's no need to hit the alarm bells yet. But for fans who've been through this before, it's hard not to feel that familiar concern creeping in. We've seen how 2021 started. 2023 had some of the same vibes. Every time the staff says it's nothing, there's a voice in the back of fans' minds wondering if it really is. Even minor injuries can mess with timing, reps, and confidence heading into week 1. And beyond the physical toll, the mental drain of trying to fight through nagging issues is real. Ravens fans have learned not to freak out over every sore knee or tweaked shoulder, but they've also learned how quickly day-to-day turns into out for the season. And when it's the secondary, the same group that's caused problems year after year, it's impossible not to feel uneasy. Training camp just started, and the warning signs are already flashing. Now, the only thing fans can do is hope this doesn't snowball. Because if this trend continues, the Ravens could be forced to test their depth way earlier than they ever planned. And that was never part of the blueprint for a Super Bowl run. Right now, these injuries might sound minor, but when 3 defensive backs are sidelined this early in training camp, you can't just brush it off. Especially when we're talking about Jaire Alexander, Bilhal Kone, and Jalyn Armour-Davis. 3 players with very different roles, but all critical to the structure and depth of this defense. The Ravens have talent in the secondary, no doubt. But even the deepest rosters start to crack when injuries hit too soon. So let me ask you, do you think these are just typical training camp bumps and bruises? Or is this a bigger red flag for what's ahead? With the Ravens' recent history, can this team really stay healthy enough to make a deep run? One thing for sure, talent won't be enough this year. If Baltimore wants to go the distance in 2025, it's going to take depth, a little luck, and a healthy roster. And so far, that last part is already getting tested.
And if you, just like me, are passionate about the world of football and want to learn more about the Ravens' legacy, don't leave this video without sharing it with that friend who is also a Baltimore Ravens fan and will love this content. See those video suggestions on your screen? The first one was handpicked just for you, and the other is a recommendation from YouTube itself. See you there, and until the next video, go Flock.